Can you believe that this moment's here, considering how long these characters, this world, has been part of your life?
I can absolutely believe that we're here. Although I wouldn't be surprised if I wake up in a few minutes and I'm still fighting terrible film adaptations of Sandman. It's so strange. I've spent, well over 30 years stopping versions of Sandman from being made, and then suddenly in 2019 it was the opposite, and it was like, okay, now we can do it. Now we don't have to try and squeeze 3,000 pages of story into 2 hours of film. Maybe we have a chance and we can really do it, and we did.
Yay!
And I think what I love best about the 2 episodes that you've all seen, think of them as at the beginning of the roller coaster ride. There's just that long roll up to the top of the roller coaster. Now the ride begins. So from here on, it's just a wild ride through to episode 10, and it doesn't stop, and it's glorious. And these people and Tom, and it's magic. It's going to keep being magic.
Wow. Before I come to this wonderful cast, Alan, if you don't mind, I'm going to pop across to you first of all. I hope you don't mind me sharing this story with the audience, going back to 1996, and the beautiful full circle of this journey for you, and the fact that you stood in a line. Well, please, will you tell the story?
Yes. My romantic partner at the time, who did not like comic books at all, showed me a great kindness and bought me a page, an original art page of that Jill Thompson had drawn from the Brief Lives arc, and gave it to me for Christmas. And I went back to the gallery when Neil was in town signing copies of Mr. Punch, and I asked him to sign my page of original art, and he did, and that was the first time we met.
Wow.
He doesn't remember it, but I do. I remember it.
I remember the signing.
Go. Yes.
I wish I remembered you, but I love the fact that when I got to say to you at that very first dinner, 2 days before we started trying to sell Sandman to the world, and particularly Netflix, and I said, it's really nice to meet you, and he said, well, we have met before. And he signed my page of Sandman. I said, what was it? And he said, you said it was a Jill Thompson Brief Lives page. And
amazing. That is a beautiful story. I love that. Alan, what was the journey that you wanted the story to make between reading those comics to the scripts that were written that we see on this series? What was the journey between those two for you?
Well, it was a long time coming, because I started reading the books when I was 19, which was a long time ago. And I was one of those fans who would just silently wish for a Sandman adaptation, and then the writer in me would cheer when each of them would die. Thinking, the chance is still out there. So I had this meeting with Clancy Collins White when I was looking for a job because my ABC deal had done, and we met and we talked about projects we could work on, and at the very end, Clancy said, "Are there any other DC Comics projects you would be interested in adapting that we haven't done yet?" And I said, "Clancy, I'm going to ask you the same question I've been asking you for 20 years. What are you doing with Sandman?" And she said, "How well do you know David Goyer?" And I said, "Is Goyer doing it?" And she said, "Yeah, but with Neil, and we're about to go out to streamers, but we haven't got a writer yet, and we don't have a showrunner." And we just looked at each other, and she said, "I'll call you." And then when I got down to my car, David Goyer was on my telephone, and he said, "Are you kidding me? You're doing this?" And I was like, "Well, I don't want to get in the way if you and Neil have already figured it out." And he said, "Fuck you, we're doing this." And that was how I got the job.
Oh, I love it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Tom, congratulations. Really is brilliant. There's so much intensity in those first 2 episodes of this character, and I've been lucky enough to see a few others, and the journey that you go on is absolutely phenomenal. Why did you want to play him? Why did this character and this role appeal to you? We've got all night. It's fine.
That's a beautiful question. I think first and foremost, I am a fan of this piece of literature. I care about it so deeply, and it is a story about stories that I wanted to live inside. And then also, I think I discovered something about him during the casting process. It was an incredibly long process, quite aptly. I would, as a fan of Sandman, if they hadn't made a long and careful decision, then I would have been upset. And I came to this idea about him, which I started to think about him. When you think of Morpheus, you think of quite abstract ideas. The Prince of Dreams, an endless, someone who's lived for millennia. I don't really know what that means or how to act it, but I do know what it means to create a dream, because if you create a dream, then you're aware of how someone feels. What is a dream if not the most lucid articulation of our true selves? And then I realized that he knows how everyone feels, and is in fact, contrary to how people sometimes perceive him, is the most extraordinarily empathetic being, but is managing this unstable thing, which is the collective unconscious of the universe, this incredibly dangerous thing, which is all of our feelings. And to manage that, he has to push them all down into his belly and hide it, because the consequences are disastrous. And I could sort of figure a way into it through that. I wanted to play someone who had that struggle.
Wow. And only someone like you could answer the Oxford-style Sandman questionnaire that you were given in the audition as well. I love that. Gwendolyn, I love watching you on screen, and what a role to be given. I mean, and I really hope as well for, when we get to see you in the future episodes, that this is a role that you're involved in, because from seeing it, it feels like that you were allowed to be involved. There was collaboration. You were listened to.
It was a really extraordinary experience from the beginning, because Alan and Neil came to me to be involved in Sandman. And I was introduced to Neil's work through a great friend of ours called Tim Blanks, who can't be here this evening. And he introduced me to a book called The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which I read and fell in love with, which I will be starring in the No. But
yes, you will.
But also, for so many years, so many different people said to me, have you read the Sandman comic books? And they said, you will love it. You will love them so much. So when Alan and Neil approached me, I read them and I loved them. And it felt like a world where maybe I could be understood. I loved, but would maybe understand me. And we talked about Lucifer, and the idea of that was just thrilling to me, because Lucifer in the comic books is extraordinary. Neil's always talked about this idea of Lucifer being inspired by a young David Bowie, this idea of a junkie angel, and the idea of being God's favorite and cast out was really exciting to me. And as a female performer playing that character, the idea of that choked bitterness, of the resentment, of endless, myriad disappointments. Felt like something I could connect to. But it was a wonderful, wonderful experience, because we would go on the Magic Book, we'd go on Zoom with Neil and with Alan and with Jamie Childs and my wonderful partner Giles Deacon, who designed my costumes, and Sarah Arthur and Graham, who did my hair and makeup, and we talked together. And out of this time where we were all so divided physically through the pandemic, we were together and creating. And it was I feel very privileged to have that experience, and it's one I've really loved.
and hope that you get on more opportunities as well. Anyone listening, production in the room. And Vivian, congratulations. This is a beautiful, beautiful role. She's so fantastic, and I love the relationship between you and Morpheus. It's that loyalty. It's that kind of loyalty and commitment. And I just love the glasses as well. They're a brilliant kind of accessory to the character.
They did all the work.
Yeah.
And the ears.
But talk to me about working with Tom in particular and finding that chemistry between these two characters.
God, he's awful.
And what that and what that relationship is.
Sorry. Sorry, I just love this. It was incredible, I have to say. It's like being in this was literally like your dream as an actor. So immersive. You go into work, you've got this world that is created. You know, everyone's like, oh, you know, so many special effects. And there are, and the team are amazing. But this world is created for us. You've got Neil's amazing, this rich, original source material where the characters are there's so much depth, you know what it is. And then Alan has adapted it. And then I kind of come like, okay, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you've got Jamie, who's just got this weird man, like amazing vision, you know. I just had to do that. Fucking love you. And then I come in, we're on a bridge. I've got this man who we met before, who was just like absolutely gorgeous, so generous, like just had his arms out like this. And I'm like, oh my God, he's so lovely, because you worry, you know. I'm doing my scene with this guy, who is he? You meet him, he's lovely. And then we get on set, different person. Literally, it's hard. He's so, I mean, you've just seen it. He's going to hate me for this, but he's so incredible. He's so incredible, so detailed. You just have to up your game. You listen. You're listening. You're looking at him. And it wasn't even a thing that I could plan, because I was just in it. I was just in the world. And my partner here is just giving me so much. It's hard not to just react and be in this world with this being that is just giving me so much. And then I'm touching real stuff and I'm like, oh my God, I'm at work, but I'm loving it. It's just, yeah, incredible. I loved it.
You can't undersell how brilliant your performance is as well, though, because you are brilliant at this. Hey, Kirby.
Oh, hello.
Looking
Hi.
fabulous.
Hello.
Oh, so
Oh, dear.
you're playing Death.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
I mean, that's a blank canvas in terms of where you take that, where you kind of go with that. I mean, you're talking about the scripts and the kind of the source material. There's so much Shakespearean almost kind of nature to it. You have these beautiful intimate moments within the show on this grand scale at times. It covers both grounds of that. For you, where was the starting point in kind of exploring this character and how you wanted to play Death?
Yeah, the starting point for me was I've been a Sandman fan for a very long time. I've found the Sandman first through American Gods. That's how I was introduced to Neil's writing. And when I read the Sandman, I was really struck by the character of Death, because I had never seen, at least in pop culture so far, I'd never seen an idea of death that was so nurturing and so caring and so gentle. So that really stood out to me. And actually, what was really interesting, when I got this role, when I started shooting, I came back, flew in, and I had to do like the whole quarantine thing. So I was in a hotel room by myself for 10 days. So I had nothing to do but research, and I went deeper and deeper and deeper and learned so much about death and how different cultures, I know it sounds dark. It was dark. But, you know, I mean, there's endless material, right? There's poetry, there's literature, there's art, there's all of these explorations of death. And generally, it's a subject matter that we try to avoid, because obviously most people have experienced loss, and it's very painful and it's very hard to look at that. But I felt like I was able to process some of my own loss through this role and through looking at it. And I also feel like it was such an honor to play a character who, if you think about those who you've loved and you've lost, I think the ideal situation, that the sort of most utopian idea of that, is that at the end they feel no pain and no fear. And for me to play a character that is essentially the kind of shaman, you know, the person taking them from this world to the next, it was a huge honor for me. And it was incredible to come to work every day and be able to sort of like process real thoughts and real feelings. And sort of to echo what Vivian said, like it's really interesting to be in a role where, of course, you're acting, but so you kind of, there's so little pretense that you need to do. You know, you can really sort of submerge yourself in this world. So.
I think that's one of the many amazing things about it, is that as a viewer, you can relate to so many elements and characteristics of all the different characters within the show and what they're trying to tell you. Just to warn you, episode 6 will break you all. It is, I mean, it's so, just the tenderness and the beauty. And one scene in particular with the old gentleman with the violin is, oh my god,
that was such a hard day to shoot. He was. Do you remember that,
it's not a
Tom?
spoiler, really,
Oh
but
yeah, that's not. I mean, it's not a spoiler. We just
Guys,
Tom. Spoiler alert, he dies. I am death.
Go on, you were saying he's spoiled it now, so you may as well tell us.
Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, the name of my character spoils it for the most part. But yeah, no, whatever. Tom, he ruined it. It was a hard day at work.
Vanessa, it's great to have you here, and congratulations as well.
Thank you.
You can't take your eyes off you as Rose in this show. I think it's a brilliant performance. Do you mind talking a little bit about, I mean, it's hard because we don't want to give too much away. I know there's a lot of fans in this room, but also we want people to experience the show. Talk a little bit about Rose's journey and your journey on this show.
Yeah, so Rose, I kind of, don't want to give any spoilers, so I say the same thing. But Rose is she is looking for her brother. She has got no family left, and she's basically just trying to get him back. And she meets Morpheus, and we kind of expanded it from the comics because she meets him earlier, and they have more of an arc and a relationship and a development there. So that's her.
What about you?
And then, yeah, me. I naturally have a lot of similarities with this Rose, which was nice. It was very interesting. And whilst we were filming and she went on her journey, I went on my own journey at the same time. And we were kind of almost expanding at the same time as she was learning to take more and to want more and to demand more. I was kind of learning to do the same thing. And that was nice.
I like that she almost gave you confidence to do that in a way, maybe by playing her.
I mean, I don't know, or maybe it was the other way around, because I realized at times that I was like, oh, I need to like let her grow as a person, and I had a certain idea of what she should be. But then I was like, well, that's not really gonna work, because, if I limit her, it's gonna limit the performance as well. So I expanded her, and I suppose, yeah, it kind of also helped me expand as well.
Amazing to hear so many kind of personal experiences feeding into everyone's performances. It's wonderful. Neil, for you, in terms of, going back to when you originally, wrote this and your memories of that time to what we see on screen now, for me, it's interesting. I hope for other people as well, that journey of, is it what you imagined it looking like?
It's really odd because most of the time it isn't quite, but that's marvelous because what's here is even better. And then every now and then it's exactly what I imagined. I love the first half of our episode 6. I love so much because it's a complete reimagining of Sandman 8, The Sound of Her Wings, which was originally set in New York, and we set it in London because we were shooting during COVID. And we built our story here, and I love everything that we brought to it. And then we get to the second half of episode 6, which is Men of Good Fortune in the comics, Sandman 13. And with Ferdy Kingsley playing Hob Gadling and doing an absolutely astonishing job, and another appearance of Jenna Coleman, this time as Lady Joanna Constantine. And we have William Shakespeare. Basically, it's the comic. And it's that, for me, I think, was probably the strangest experience, just sitting and watching this and going, 27-year-old Neil Gaiman wrote this in 1988, and now I'm sitting watching it, and it's all those lines and everything, and it looks like it, and it's just this thing from my head, and it's happening now, 30-something years later. This is weird. So.
But beautiful. Yeah.
And so it goes both ways.
Yeah. Alan, what was that journey of deciding what the arc would be of these 10 episodes, what you would include, what you wouldn't include? That, I mean, where do you start with that? Was 75 comics, is it? Yes.
Yeah.
Books,
I mean, the original run, and then there are additions. For those of you who haven't bought the books yet, they're available at Amazon. It was very organic. We didn't say at the outset it's going to be this much Sandman. I had an instinct, but we sort of let it unfold the way it did in the writers' room, and Neil and I were in constant contact, and Neil had given me permission really early on to expand the world. To really we had these incredible actors, and so, to be able to have Jolie and give Jolie 2 episodes worth of story, and Neve Walsh, we expanded Ethel, and it was just such a privilege to be able to play in this universe and create in this universe, and then invite all the actors to participate in that collaboration as well. Ferdinand Kingsley is here, who plays Hob Gadling, and just an incredible, we were spoiled, and so we let it all sort of happen naturally. And we ended up where we ended up. I mean, here's the thing. We really wanted people watching Netflix to press that next episode button. So we structured these episodes as best we could to give you cliffhangers. And that was most of the heavy lifting, was how to refashion, how to take what was in the books and really, make people want to watch the next one. So that was the craft part of it.
Definitely do. It's like, just one more, and another one, and another one. Just one more.
It was wonderful. I mean, I do understand the Joni Mitchell thing of the idea that you're singing a song that another version of you wrote a long time ago, and mostly you just look at what you were thinking then, and you go, how did I know that? How did I know that thing? Because I'm writing a thing about being old here. I'm writing a thing about some of life that I had not experienced, but I wrote it. And that, mostly it's a feeling of incredible admiration of the person who wrote it. And every now and again, there's that little moment where you go, but I can bring something to this. I still love the Dracula's line that I wrote for the guards. It's like, yeah, 27-year-old Neil Gaiman, you didn't write that one.
Well, mine is episode 5, which is our adaptation of 24 Hours, which I was the most sort of intimidated by at the outset, and I thought, I don't know how we're going to do this. And then COVID sort of forced us to figure that out sooner than we might have, because we shot it second after the first episode. And it cemented my creative partnership with Jamie Childs, its director and our producing director. And it was just an astonishing labor of love. And it was extraordinary because we got the cast together and we took an entire day to rehearse it like a play, which you never do in TV. You get maybe a run through or two before the cameras roll. And we took an entire day on this amazing set that John Gary Steele designed and built for us, this diner. And the cast, we had the most extraordinary day. And then we shot it in sequence, the way you would play. I've never experienced anything like it, and I will never forget it as long as I live. So that was my favorite.
Brilliant. Vanessa, what about for you?
I haven't watched it yet, so I don't know.
What about that you filmed then?
Yeah, I don't know how the rest of it looks. I can kind of only...
It's okay. It is okay. It's good.
But I mean, from like reading the comics and then reading the scripts, I'm most excited for, and I think maybe my favorite, but I'm not sure yet, is the cereal convention. I think that's nice. That would be fun.
Right. Kirby?
My favorite, one of the most exciting parts for me was seeing Hell and seeing these two duel in Hell. So,
Like it. Vivian?
So many. Same as Alan, because I've watched that episode. I was like, what is going on? But Death as well. I mean, I really love it. I'm sorry. I know I'm in it, but it's not even the bits that I'm in. I just love it, all of it. Every episode is different. So it's just a treat. Every episode's a treat, really.
Gwendolyn, have you got a favourite?
I'd like to give a major shout out to Mason Alexander Park, who's playing Desire.
Yes.
And does a just spectacular job.
They're so great. Unbelievable performance, yeah. Tom, what about for you?
I mean, no, but I had the great privilege of sort of being there for all of it, and I don't think I could pick a favourite moment, but I do remember the end, which was episode 6, which we shot last, and having spent 9 months kind of trying to conjure castles in my head and gargoyles in the sky and hordes of demons, there was something very beautiful about walking around London with Kirby and just having a conversation with my sister.
Aww. How do you feel about ravens now? What's your feeling on...
You didn't have to imagine the ravens. We had real ravens. I was not conjuring any of that.
Right. Good. Happy with the ravens. Like it. Neil, what about for you?
This is honestly like, pick your favorite child kind of thing, because each of the episodes has something beautiful in. Each of the episodes is utterly different, which is the thing that I think of all of the things that we did, it's the thing I'm proudest of, and it's also the thing that's going to be hardest to explain to people, which is, they're all different. Even if you don't like one, keep watching, because you'll probably like the next one. They're just different. They're not the same thing at all. And there are things in each that I love. We haven't talked about Jenna Coleman and her Joanna Constantine, who is just a... the reaction of most people who see her episode is, okay, so when do we get the spin-off series? She just conjures up this wonderful, terrible, awful person who you love, and makes a new Constantine for the 2020s, which is amazing. I think Going to Hell and Lucifer and Mazikeen and the battle is astonishing. The diner is the worst thing in the world, in the best possible way. And then you get to episode 6, and that kisses you and hugs you and makes it all better. And then you have the Doll's House ahead of you, and you have the Corinthian, and you have the Serial Killers Convention, and we haven't even talked about Little Jed and the Sandman, the superhero Sandman, who's going to be coming into it. And we haven't talked about Stephen Fry, who ought to be up here with us.
We can book another one of these in and talk about all that, please.
Honestly, the Doll's House is kind of, it's getting short shrift, which is really unfair because, apart from anything else, we have a lot of the cast of the Doll's House here, and they're barely in the ads because we're concentrating on the first few. But it's astounding. It's a glorious piece of work, and so I don't want to actually, if I have to pick one tiny moment,
Do it.
I will, because it's talking about things that made me cry. And episode 6 made me cry a couple of times. But there's a little point in episode 10 where we get to say goodbye to Stephen Fry. And we get to see Morpheus, and we get to see Vanessa's Rose Walker, and the end of the Stephen Fry that was, and when he delivers his dialogue, I just, you sit there and something's dripping down your face, and it's just heartbreaking and beautiful and so magical. And so I picked that tiny moment if I have to pick anything.
Okay, well, what's about if after everybody's watched all the episodes, we all reconvene here with everybody and we have a big old chat about it all? Yeah? Should we do that? You up for that? Yeah? Okay. In the meantime, thank you so much for being here, for your incredible energy in this room. It's beautiful. And for your question as well. Please put your hands together for our wonderful panel.